This video is a collaboration with the folks over at SE Electronics. They sent me this Dynacaster microphone in exchange for making this video. Okay? Alright, let's record a podcast. The Dynacaster by SE Electronics retails for about £200. There are affiliate links in the video description below because capitalism. You are hearing me through the Dynacaster right now, and in fact I'm using it for the entire video, so there's plenty of opportunity to hear how this mic sounds. The way we set up our Dynacaster depends on the other gear we're using, it depends on the recording space, and it depends on the purpose of the recording as well. But before we even get into the setup, we need to talk about your recording space. So how do we prepare a space for podcasting? Well, one of the best things you can do in terms of acoustic treatment is just fill it with stuff. A big sofa, carpets, wall hangings, a bookshelf covered in books, one of these. Anything that isn't a large flat surface that will cause reflections is going to be really helpful. And sure, you can spend weeks, months, years researching the best kind of acoustic insulation, but honestly, the most cost-effective thing you can do is to fill a room with stuff you already have. Soft things, nice things, like a duck dressed as a bear. I know what I said. To start recording, you'll need either a computer with an audio interface or a portable audio recorder like the ones that Zoom and Tascam make. If you're doing a live broadcast with background music, or you're recording a podcast over conference software like Zoom or Discord or whatever, make sure you wear headphones. Never use your studio or laptop speakers because the Dynacaster will pick that up and it will sound bad. And if you're recording with guests, make sure that they're wearing headphones too, and make sure that they record their audio in isolation. Even if they don't have a perfect Dynacaster microphone like you do, just get them to record whatever they have in isolation, add it to the mix later, it'll be much better, I promise. And it'll be way better than recording whatever audio is coming out of Zoom or Discord or Skype. The Dynacaster has a built-in mount with quite a wide swivel range, so it will pretty much fit any mic stand and pretty much suit any situation. If I'm recording voiceover, I'll usually mount the microphone to this mini reflection filter by SE Electronics, which helps reflections from the rest of your room, and not very expensive either. Now, if you're doing a live stream or some kind of video content like this, reflection filter actually might not look great. It might kind of crowd the space, and it might block your view of the camera or monitors or screens or whatever you need. So it's not perfect for every situation, but if you can get a reflection filter, probably do that. Now, I always try to use a pop filter when I'm doing anything voice or mouth related because it cuts down on sibilance and annoying mouth noises. The Dynacaster actually comes with a built-in pop filter, which is really clever. Here's a little tip though. If you're recording someone else and you want to make sure they get away from the microphone, a pop filter between the performer and the microphone helps give them a bit of space. Otherwise, people are inclined to get really close to their microphone, which is great if you're doing that kind of boomy, cinematic, really heavy on the low end kind of voiceover. But we're not always doing that, are we? So adding a pop filter helps give us a bit of space. Like with reflection filters, pop filters can look a bit messy and crowded if you're doing any kind of video content, which is why it's an absolute genius move that SE Electronics put it inside the microphone. Once the mic is on a stand, we're going to take an XLR cable and we're going to plug the female end into the microphone. We're going to plug the male end into our audio interface or recording device. If the little level meters aren't moving, we're going to turn the gain up, and you're going to do that without wearing headphones and with your speakers down low. You're going to turn the gain all the way up, and hopefully you'll start to see those little meters moving around. If you don't get any kind of level coming through, you're going to turn the gain down. You're going to check your XLR connections. If that doesn't work, then you're probably going to want to try a different XLR cable, and if that still doesn't work, you have a problem with your audio interface. Soz. There's some adjustments we can make on the Dynacaster itself, but before we do that, it's worth listening to it in its default state. On either side of the Dynamite switch, we have two EQ switches. We're going to set both of those to be the straight line, which means natural, normal, default, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to make another video where I go over these different EQ settings with some EQ visualization so you can see what's going on. If that's helpful to you, then check the video description, and yes, do that. I'm going to create a new audio track in Cubase. I'm going to select input 1 to record, and I'm just going to record for a moment so I have something to listen back to. Testing, 1, 2, 3. It's really hard to know how a mic sounds whilst you're listening to it, because we hear more of our voice resonating naturally through our body and into our ears than we do through headphones. So that's why we're just going to record for a second, listen back to it, and then think about any changes we might want to make with the EQ. If you have some low-end rumble in your room, maybe noise from outside, maybe there's builders next door, that kind of thing, you can try using the high-pass filter switch. If you want to do some cinematic voiceover, then you want to get really close and you maybe want to try that low-end boost. Or if you don't have much sibilance and you want more presence in your voice, you can try the high-end boost. I can't tell you what's right for your voice in your room because I don't know you and I don't know your space. So it is worth investing a bit of time into trial and error, and if you can make changes inside of the microphone rather than in post-production, it's generally better. But yeah, definitely dedicate some time to trying out all the different options and seeing what you really like for your voice in your room for your specific project. Let's talk about mixing. So once I've recorded my podcast, maybe I need to add in a couple guests, maybe I need to add in some background music or some sound effects or some stingers, that kind of thing. So what I usually do is add a small amount of compression to my voice channel, and that's just so that if I shout or get really loud or whisper and go really quiet, the output is pretty consistent. So I'll put that on my voice channel, and then on the master fader I'll put a limiter or a maximizer so that everything going into that kind of, again, comes out at a consistent level. So the background music works with the sound effects, works with my voice, works with the voices of my guests. I render my podcast down to high quality MP3, so they work with Acast and Anchor, but whatever platform you use to host your podcast, you want to have a look at their suggested export settings and make sure you match them as closely as you can. SE Electronics really thought about how this microphone was going to be used. You know, practically, in reality, most vocal mics are used in acoustically treated spaces, but most live streams and most podcasts happen in imperfect spaces like this, with two or more computers and countless electronic devices. We're living in the age of the bedroom producer, and that applies to music as well as podcasts and video content. And SE have really thought about serving folks like us in imperfect environments. The Dynacaster is heavily shielded in order to avoid interference from other electronic devices, and it also has a built-in shock mount inside the microphone itself, as well as the pop filter and as well as the EQ options and as well as the preamp. I think SE Electronics have done a really great job with the Dynacaster. I'm going to be using it for the foreseeable future, so if you want to come see it in action, come check out my weekly Cubase live streams and ask me if I still like the SE Electronics Dynacaster. I've put some further information in the video description below. Of course, there's affiliate links as well if you want to just go buy one of these things immediately, which I of course encourage you to do.